What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Sarah. One here bringing another video. Today I'm bringing a video on episode 7 now of Power Rangers Ninja Steel. The reason why I'm releasing this episode review already is because for some reason episode 7 went up on Nick.com early. Usually, for those of you who don't know, Nick.com tends to put the episodes up. The only thing is that the only way you can actually watch it is if you put in your Optimum or whatever cable provider you have that information, then you can watch them online. Typically what happens is that they'll release the episodes the day after the actual episode airs on TV, and then there have been random exceptions over the years, but for the most part they tend to put them out in a way that people that see it first are the ones that see it on TV. In this case, episode 7 came out online. Episode 8 though still hasn't showed up, which means that episode 8 I haven't seen yet, but I know about 7, and it's interesting to see how they decide to do that. And yet we haven't gotten any previews, period, for episode 8, to my knowledge. Anyway, I wanted to talk about this episode 7. So, the episode's called Hack Attack. What happens in this episode? Well, it's a big episode focused around Sarah. Yes, so this is her focus episode. Obviously, as I said before, we've gotten every single character's focus episode now. With Sarah, that brings us to all 5 of them, which is great. Hers is better than, say, Haley's, which I really wanted it to be a lot better than Haley's was, because I personally like Haley a lot. But I really, really hate what they did with Haley's focus episode. Sarah's episode was really good. I think that Sarah's episode might be one of my favorites of the focus episodes, if not my favorite. But let's go into it. So what happens is we end up seeing that Sarah is going to school. She has a whole bunch of things that she's holding on to, and she's apparently signed up for like 5 or 6 clubs that go on at the exact same time after school each day. And she bumps into Mick in the process. The thing is that Mick's like, isn't this a little too much? She's like, nah, I think I can handle it. And the thing is that it's sort of like, how is this gonna work? So what happens is we see her at like archery and like camping club and I think basketball and a couple other sports or whatever, and she's doing good. She's like excellent, in fact. And she even breaks a record that like Victor had a record for, and then Victor screws up, and so, because he's like really good at archery. But what happens is that she manages to shoot like an arrow that manages to launch a large distance and then come right back at her, but like at a really good speed or something like that. And then he tries to do a crazy arrow, which doesn't work at all. It actually leads to him catching a beehive in his hand. So that all happens. Then what happens is that we end up seeing them for the preview clip. The first preview clip that was shown off, the second preview clip that was shown off, which was the one where she was showing off the new ability for their blaster weapons. So what happens is that she's showing it off with like the tongue beam, the whiplash thing or whatever, and she uses it on like a target, and she hits it really well. And then they're all arguing over like, wait, I thought you were at this place. Oh yeah, she was also in the chess club. That's right, because that's where Preston was. I forget which club she was that also Brody was. But anyway, they're all arguing over like, wait, you were here at this time, and you were also here at this time, and the things they don't understand. And so then suddenly we end up seeing the villain for the episode, Hack Track. That's the name of the villain. Hack Track, interesting villain overall. Cool concept for him. What happens is he ends up fighting the Rangers, and suddenly Sarah ends up turning it into this silver orb or ball or whatever. They think, what happened to her? Did she get captured? At least that's what I was thinking initially. Like maybe she got captured or something must have gone wrong. Turns out there's a good explanation that we end up learning shortly after, because what happens is that they end up going back to the base. When they're back at the base, prior to that, actually Hacktrack takes the orb and brings it back with him. And we don't know where he goes, but we just know that he disappears. So then when they go back to the base, they see that Sarah is there, and they're like, wait, we just saw you disappear. And the reason why that is because Sarah has created her own holoclones. Holoclones allow her to use her brainwaves to control multiple entities through her technology that she has, which are the orbs. And because of this, this allows her to be in multiple places at once and, work to whatever extent she can. Does that mean that she's working extremely well? Not necessarily, but she's able to split herself into multiple bodies. So what happens is that she ends up explaining this to them, and they mention how one of the clone orbs actually got stolen by the monster, and she's like, "Oh, don't worry, it shouldn't be a big deal." And you see it on her face that she's like, "Oh shoot, that's not good at all." And because the thing is that they're worried that the monster's going to use it for something bad, and the thing is that that's exactly what happens. Shortly after the fact, what ends up occurring is Hacktrack ends up using the technology to embed it within himself and gain new abilities which allow him to use similar technology with Galvanox. So what happens is that he ends up creating a device that's similar to that's similar to Sarah's device, and Galvanox ends up using it. He ends up wearing it on his head, and he's able to split himself into multiple beings. Suddenly, these beings are made gigantic. They're not just his normal size, so suddenly they're wrecking havoc. And just consider this: it's not like they're just holograms where they don't actually interact with the area. They actually, if there's something in there, if they punch something, they'll actually punch something. So they're physical, tangible beings and everything. So they're breaking walls and buildings and everything. So at that point, what happens is that they see that there's a monster track. They see that there's 8 Galvanoxes, and at that point, they realize that the hack track must have used the technology to manipulate it so that Galvanox could have multiple entities of himself. So that's when the 4 members have to go to the 4 Rangers, including Brody, Haley, Calvin, and Preston, go to deal with Galvanox. In the meantime, Sarah decides to split herself into her multiple beings and tries to research how to solve the issue with the hacking of the monster and everything. So at that point, she ends up doing that. She ends up assigning each one to a different task. Thing is that it's not working very well. But in the process, the Rangers end up trying to deal with Galvanox. Galvanox ends up attacking, and then at one point or another, we end up seeing Sarah is being asked by each of her clones to help. Her clones are asking her for help with different tasks, and so it's not there's 5 or 6 clones, and so each one's going at her, grabbing her arms, and being like, "I need you over here." No, I need you over here. No, I need you over here. And you get it. It's a big deal. So then what happens is that we suddenly see Mick. And, Mick is kind of a wise, intelligent guy. He really is. He seems to be he seems to be this kind of clever but well thought out mentor figure for the season. And I really actually appreciate the value he brings to the show, because he's not someone who just does nothing. No. He creates clever situations that let people learn from their mistakes and learn from what they're not knowing already. So, in other words, what happens is that he suddenly starts playing a whole bunch of instruments all in one go at the same time. And the thing is that Sarah's like, no. You shouldn't be playing all these instruments at once. It's better to play one at a time, so that way you can be really good at one thing rather than being really bad at 5 or 6 different things. And suddenly he's like, well, how's it going with the clones? And she says, it's going terribly. There's too many at once and it's too distracting. And then suddenly she's like, oh, I see what you did there. And that's when she realizes what he was trying to imply is that she's spreading herself so thin to the point that she's multitasking too much, and she's creating too much of a problem for herself. So that's when she deactivates the clones, and she begins to do work on her own, and she creates her own version of the Hollow clones technology, but it's a different version. This one actually has a virus in it that she implants. So what happens is that she ends up joining the others, and she says, "I hope that that Hacktrack doesn't take this. This will make the Holoclones the strongest ever." And so then what happens is that he ends up knocking her out, or knocking her over at least, and then takes the new Holoclone technology, implants it in himself, causes a virus. This virus not only affects Hacktrack, but also affects the machine that Galvanox was using. Suddenly the machine starts acting up and gets ready to explode on Galvanox. So he takes it off, gives it to a Kudobot. Kudobots pass it back and forth, and then eventually it just bursts. Galvanox does survive, doesn't get hurt really, but the Kudobots are destroyed. At that point, what happens is, because it's not attached to Galvanox anymore, the clones disappear. There is no sighting of them anymore. So then Hacktrack is left alone to fend for himself, other than the Kudobots that I believe do appear. So then they end up fighting, and eventually they do a final attack on him, and that leads to Cosmo doing a Gigantify. Meantime, we see Mick has a vision. Well, he sees a vision through the Ninja Nexus prism of another Zord, because he's actually working with the Ninja Steel again, and he sees this Zord, and so what happens is he throws it into the Ninja Nexus prism, and comes out a new Zord. At that point, what happens is they end up having some of the Megazord. And the thing is that Hacktrack is flying into the sky. So they think, okay, we'll go into the Dragon Formation mode of the Ninja Steel Megazord. Well, they try that, but then he says he's going into space. The thing is that the Dragon Formation can't travel into space. It can only travel within the Earth. So at that point, that's when Mick contacts them saying, I have a new Ninja Power Star for you, and he tosses it up into the sky, and suddenly somehow Brody catches it. This is for the Astro Zord, so that they're able to form the Astro Ninja Steel Megazord. With this formation, they're able to travel into space. And it's cool to see that we're actually getting the Astro Zord now, even though the toy actually hasn't come out. The actual formation hasn't come out like in stores yet, which doesn't mean that it won't come out soon, but I don't expect it till maybe a few weeks after this episode really airs, if not like towards the summer even. I honestly don't know for a fact. I don't want to assume anything, but I mean, I've seen what it looks like, the American version, and it looks okay. It actually looks like one of the better, like it looks much better than the Tusk Megazord formation did. I'll say that much right now. They definitely did a better look of it, but again, you're basically buying the Megazord twice again, so it's okay. Anyway, what happens is that they end up fighting Hacktrack and destroying him with the Astro Megazord formation, and then at that point they think that everything's good. They end up actually then going back to the school where Victor's trying to get a new record. Sarah says she's done with the archery club. Victor feels he's good, but the thing is that Monty was also inside the slingshot that he was going to use to slingshot himself, because Victor was also going to slingshot himself. Monty gets shot into it. Actually, it was a bow, and what happens is that he ends up breaking a new record for launching himself into a target right in the middle. As an actual person, yeah. So then at that point, Monty gets his own award. Victor's kind of annoyed, but then they suddenly get a distress call, and they have to go back to the base, and that's when we see something pretty darn important. That is something that actually got revealed kind of early, which was an additional clip for episode 7. We actually got 3 trailers, yet we didn't get any trailers for episode 8. I mean, with sneak peeks, you know what I mean? Sneak peeks. None. Episode 7, though, we got to see something pretty interesting at the end here, where we got to see that what we're assuming might be Aiden Brody's brother, or the one that we're assuming to be the Gold Ranger, what happens is that the Astrozord actually flies up to Galvanox's ship and suddenly releases, frees Aiden or whoever the Gold Ranger is from the clutches of Madame Odious's ship and ship area, and suddenly he removes the helmet, grabs the gold ninja star, and then he jumps into the Astro Megazord. Well, actually, he hold on one second. What was I saying? He grabs the ninja power star of the Gold Ranger ninja power star. He then transforms into the Gold Ranger, confronts Ripcon for like a split second. He's like, "Oh, stow away!" Suddenly, what happens is that the Gold Ranger disappears into the Astrozord, and the Astrozord comes to Earth, lands down. The Rangers then see all this, and they don't see all that, but they see a news report of some coverage happening, and it's like UFO has landed on Earth. They suddenly see the UFO opening up, and it's revealed to be the Gold Ninja Steel Ranger. We don't get to see his face, we don't get to see who he looks like, but we do see little clips here and there. I'm sure episode 8 will actually show more. I haven't seen episode 8 again, but episode 7 was released early. I probably will leave some sort of a link up. Obviously, it might be taken down by the time that I leave it up, or I don't know yet. I'm also waiting to see if I get some stuff that I can work with, but overall, episode 7 was actually really, really good. I think it's one of the better episodes that we've had so far, and I'm looking forward to episode 8 because 7 was done really, really well, and it had a very well-developed story that had a lot of stuff in it, but it didn't feel overwhelming. It did what it needed to do, and it made it seem bigger from the previews than it actually was. So it made things seem more complicated, but it really wasn't that bad. Anyway, please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you guys think. Are you guys looking forward to episode 8? And also, have you seen episode 7 already before this? If so, then that's awesome. If not, then I definitely suggest watching it. It is very good in my opinion. I'd love to know your guys' opinions about it. Do you like this episode or not? Leave your comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. So until then, guys, I'm Crazy Sarah 71, and goodbye, guys.